So I think it's safe to say that David Brock, who is a Clinton surrogate who operates multiple pro-Clinton super PACs, is the most vicious attack dog that Bill and Hillary Clinton have, and throughout the primaries, he slandered Bernie Sanders relentlessly, and he even penned a hypocritical open letter to Bernie Sanders asking Bernie Sanders to stop attacking Hillary Clinton. So basically, he assassinated Bernie Sanders' character and then had the audacity to ask Bernie Sanders to basically stop campaigning against Hillary Clinton. So this guy is ridiculous. Now, he penned another open letter to Bernie Sanders, but it's not what you're thinking. So typically when I hear that David Brock penned a letter to Bernie Sanders, I would expect it to be something that's terrible with him slandering Bernie in favor of Hillary Clinton, but this time it's a little bit different. So the title of his letter this time is Dear Senator Sanders, I'm with you in the fight ahead. He states, it's no secret who I supported. I was one of the most visible and vocal advocates of Secretary Hillary Clinton. Many others backed you, Senator Sanders, with contagious zeal. At times during the Democratic primary, I was criticized for being too aggressive in my support for Hillary Clinton. You don't say. And rightly so. Looking back, I recognize that there were a few moments when my drive to put Hillary Clinton in the White House led me to take too stiff a jab. I own up to that. I regret it, and I apologize to you and your supporters. Now, we'll just stop right there, and let me assure you that as far as we know, this is not a joke. So this is a really long open letter to Bernie Sanders calling for a truce between the Hillary Clinton wing and the Senator Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. Now, there's a lot, so I can't get to all of it, but let's hear him out. With Trump's inauguration looming just days away, now is the time for us to unite as a party and a progressive movement and put the resentments of the past behind us. We who reject Trump's bankrupt leadership must heal old wounds, reorient ourselves, and embrace common goals. We must unify in resistance. With the stakes so high, I pledge to help harness the passion that you and your supporters unleashed to empower progressives, Democrats up and down the ballot, and to hold Donald Trump accountable. I plan to fight like hell for the next 4 years for our shared values and ideas, and I know that you will too. Senator Sanders, your candidacy electrified millions, from students to working class families. You inspired Americans to be more engaged in the political process. We need you to continue to be the voice of reason in a world that has been spun out of control. One of the signature issues of your campaign was getting money out of politics. Even though I run a super PAC, I am with you on this. I would love to get out of the business, but not while the Republicans are permitted super PACs. The playing field must be level. You have long sounded the alarm and called out puppet masters like the billionaire Koch brothers. We agree that their cash poisons our democracy. Senator Sanders, I know you recognize this and understand the need to unite to give voice to those who stand to lose so much. While the first priorities are protecting the vulnerable among us and fighting back against Trump, we must also take proactive steps to repair public discourse and vanquish the bottom-feeding organizations that threaten it. He doesn't correct the record there. Fake news is an existential threat to our democracy that must be addressed with clear-eyed focus. Now, if I may, let me speak directly to your supporters. If you voted for Senator Sanders, you almost certainly realize that Trump is a very real threat to our way of life, our shared values, and our constitutional democracy. We are all now small d Democrats. What was said in the heat of a campaign cannot drive us apart in the face of such an overwhelming threat. Now is not the time for factionism. The real dividing line going forward in our party is not about ideological direction. It's the question of whether to resist and oppose or accommodate and appease. Senator Sanders, we need to be bold and united, without fear or hesitation. We must oppose Trump. We must stand up for and defend our shared values. The bedrock American values you championed of pluralism, equality, and opportunity are ones I share, and I hope that we can be partners in the fight ahead. Sincerely, David Brock. Now, before I share my opinion on this, there's a couple of claims in here that I want to address directly. So, one, he states that he is the head of a super PAC, and as much as he'd like to get out of the business, well, it has to be a level playing field. So if Republicans are going to have a super PAC, then Democrats should have one too. But that's an argument that I entirely reject, because Bernie Sanders proved that you don't need to have a super PAC in order to run a successful campaign. He nearly won a rigged primary against Hillary Clinton, who had 7 super PACs. As far as we know, there could have been more, and certainly more donated to her, but she had 7 pro-Hillary super PACs, and she almost lost in spite of the tremendous advantage that she had, that the DNC gave her and the media gave her. So don't give me this bullshit about leveling the playing field. Also, Hillary Clinton outspent and outraised Donald Trump during the election, and he still beat her. So money in politics is a virus. So if you want it to go away, then you have to start with the Democratic Party. So by running a super PAC and saying that you need to level the playing field between Democrats and Republicans, you're justifying their willingness to be corrupt. And they've sold out. It's not just that they're influenced by these donations. They've complete and utterly sold out. So I disagree with that, and I reject that argument unequivocally. Now, he also kept repeating that Bernie Sanders, we need you to do this, we need you to do that. Bernie Sanders does not need to take advice from you, David Brock. Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in America because Bernie Sanders has the right strategy. Bernie Sanders knows what to do because he's out there talking to the American people. Meanwhile, you're in your cozy office sipping on champagne and eating caviar with liberal elites. Just recently, you formed a Coke-like network on the left in order to, quote, kick Donald Trump's ass. So you don't know what the American people want. Don't try to educate Bernie Sanders on what he should or shouldn't do. Now, another thing in here, you talk about fake news. You said it's an existential threat to our democracy that must be addressed with clear-eyed focus, but you had no problem creating fake news during the primaries in order to slander Bernie Sanders. You literally stated that Bernie Sanders did not care about African Americans because one of his ads didn't include enough diversity. That's what you stated. That's your own word. So you created fake news. And then you also say here, what was said in the heat of the campaign cannot drive us apart in the face of such an overwhelming threat. But it's not just about what was said to us, David. It's about what was done to us. One, you didn't just attack Bernie Sanders. You assassinated his character, or certainly tried to. And second of all, the primary was rigged against our candidate. We voted for Bernie Sanders, we supported Bernie Sanders, we donated to Bernie Sanders, and we were defrauded by the DNC. Before we can go forward or even talk about unification, this needs to be addressed. I want an apology for that specifically. Now, taking a step back and looking at this, just overall, so I'm kind of split on this, not evenly though, because part of me thinks, all right, Mike, it's time to be, a grown-up and acknowledge that there's some truth to what he's saying. The Democratic Party and liberals in general need to unify in order to effectively combat and defeat Donald Trump. But on the other hand, part of me wants to tell David Brock to go fuck himself. And unfortunately for David Brock, the asshole side of me is winning because I think that that's kind of more where I'm inclined to land in terms of my opinion on this, because I really have zero desire to work with David Brock, not only because I don't want to, but also because I think that his strategy, it doesn't work. Spending large sums of money, funneling money into the campaigns and super PACs of candidates does not work, and that's your strategy. So we have fundamental disagreements that cannot be resolved. Furthermore, you keep using that title progressive, but I don't think you know what it means. I don't consider you a progressive, David Brock, nor do I consider you a liberal. You have very conservative, centrist views at best, although you may agree with us when it comes to social issues, but on economic issues, you're completely different. You can claim to care about money and politics, but you're completely different than us. We have fundamental disagreements. You help to perpetuate this system of corruption and legalized bribery with your super PAC by creating Coke-like networks on the left. You like corruption. You're profiting off of corruption because you run multiple pro-Clinton super PACs. The fact that you're associated with a super PAC is already enough for me to dismiss you, but I'm vehemently opposed to the idea that Democrats also need super PACs to effectively combat the campaigns of Republicans. That's bullshit. And furthermore, when you talk about, we said a bunch of things that, were bad during the campaign. I attacked Bernie, Bernie attacked me and Hillary. So, that's a wash. No, David, it goes a lot further than that. We never really attacked you. We certainly never attacked you personally, but I've covered basically every single attack and smear that you've done against Bernie Sanders. And so let's go ahead and take a look at those. David Brock has stooped to a new low. So, according to MSNBC, he has officially filed 3 ethics complaints against Bernie Sanders with the Federal Election Commission. The Clinton campaign, by proxy of one of her many surrogates, has accused Bernie Sanders of wanting to cheat during the Iowa caucus. What they are saying that he is trying to do is he will be busing in students from outside of Iowa to participate in the Iowa caucus. He even went so far as to say that Bernie Sanders doesn't care about African American voters because he doesn't have enough African American people in one of his ads. Now, he had the audacity to write an open letter to Bernie Sanders and begged him to stop attacking Hillary Clinton. I'm not joking. David Brock alleges that a pro-Sanders super PAC has improperly used Sanders' name and also alleges illegal coordination. Now, the most hilarious part about this is that Sanders doesn't even have a super PAC. Hillary Clinton's attack dog, David Brock, is launching his own Koch brothers-like donor network to finance attacks on President-elect Donald Trump and to rebuild the political left after Trump's stunning victory over Clinton last week. He's blaming millennials for Hillary Clinton's defeat and is saying they simply failed their candidate. It's not the other way around that Hillary Clinton failed millennials, it's that millennials failed Hillary Clinton. So to recap here, David Brock apologizes to Bernie Sanders and his supporters, and he wants to form a truce in order to effectively fight against Donald Trump. But in spite of that, the cons against him are that he made up lies against Bernie Sanders and tried to smear him. He spent $1 million during the election to combat online trolls against Hillary Clinton by putting out more trolls into the world, because that's a great strategy. He also blamed millennials recently for Hillary Clinton's defeat. And furthermore, he wants to perpetuate the system of legalized bribery by championing a super PAC in order to help Democrats get elected and, quote, kick Trump's ass. So if you really want to help defeat Donald Trump, I'm with you there, but I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to work alongside you. Here's what you can do. If you truly believe all of those things, David Brock, and you actually do want to defeat Donald Trump, the best thing that you can do is to go away. Get out of politics, close down your super PAC, and become a citizen activist. Don't continue to claim to care about money in politics while you're the head of major super PACs. Don't claim to care about these types of values when you use identity politics to smear people who are worried about economic issues that Hillary Clinton was not addressing during the campaign. So again, if you want to fight Donald Trump, then don't help us. Just go away and let us handle it, because you have no idea what you're doing. So when it comes to your apology not accepted, David Brock. Fuck off.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.